Welcome back to KION News at 11. It's time now for a full weather forecast. And Dan, there's a lot going on. I understand it's pretty active out there.
You know, we've gone through this already this winter. This isn't going to be any worse than the other storms we've seen, some of the other storms we've seen, but it could be just as bad in some cases. So it's very important that folks are paying attention to the weather. I know we all have what I like to call storm fatigue, where, you know, after the first couple rounds blow by and we've been talking about it for a while, it just doesn't seem quite as important anymore. But you know, some areas are going to see some issues this weekend, or actually for the end of the week, with flooding. Some areas are going to see power outages for days. I know the folks in the Santa Cruz Mountains have been doing that on and off all winter long, and unfortunately it looks like that might be the case again. So I just hope everyone's ready. We're going to try and get you ready as best we can, and what I'm asking you to do is stay safe and be smart about everything, and my commitment to you is just to make sure that you have the information that you need weather-wise to get through the next couple of days. So let's dig into the forecast. Live look from Domenico's tonight. Things are pretty quiet as we wait for the approach of the storm. In fact, skies being mostly clear right now have allowed temperatures to dip down into the 30s in many cases around the bay. And many other areas are in the 40s, but it's still a cool evening out there. Just outside a little while ago, I could see my breath. But the clouds are beginning to increase from the west as moisture streams toward us tonight. And this is just going to keep happening and building through the overnight hours. These clouds thickening as this stream really gets delivered right to our doorstep. And it's being pumped up by an area of low pressure, which is just north of the Hawaiian Islands. Here's Honolulu on the map, and here's this area of low pressure. This is just acting as a pump and pulling moisture into the flow. Now, the moisture can be here. We don't necessarily see any rain from it, but you need some sort of like mechanism to actually use that moisture, and that comes with this storm off to our north. It is moving south. It's packed with cold air, which is drawn in from Canada, and it is moving south to the point where it will interact with this huge moisture plume and strengthen it, causing it to lift upward as it approaches the coast. And this is this fire hose effect. So we get an extra amount of lift, which allows for some cooling in the plume, which is actually fairly warm and moist. As it cools, cooler air can not hold as much moisture as warmer air can. It's just the way it works density-wise. And then that rain just starts to come out of it as it saturates. So that is going to be the case. And this is going to be directed right here on the coast for a good 24 hours or so. So this is tomorrow afternoon. We see the brunt of it getting here, and all the way into Friday, we see this moisture plume or atmospheric river pointed at us. And even beyond that, we'll still see some moisture drawn in, and the storm's still going to be here moving by and continuing to pound us with moisture. Another atmospheric river kind of on the heels of the previous one, or at least another wave in it, will be here Monday into Tuesday. And then additionally, another one possible as we head toward the end of the week. So this first Thursday to Friday system is going to produce considerable rainfall, which is likely going to flood some of our smaller streams, and in some cases rivers, like the San Lorenzo River is expected to get to flood stage. In fact, major flood stage is the latest projections. Now, these additional systems, they may not be as strong on Tuesday or later on next week, but again, we've already lifted up the bar, so it doesn't need to be as strong to cause similar problems. So this is going to be a week-long, maybe week-long plus event where we need to be very careful and be cautious in our neighborhoods and aware of what's going on outside. And of course, we're going to do the best to make sure that you stay informed. So let's talk about some of those river levels. Here's the latest forecast. Now, this information is coming from the National Weather Service, and perhaps basically, it's based on computer models showing how much precipitation is going to fall over the different watersheds of these rivers. So, and then that puts an output into those river basins. So the San Lorenzo River is expected to reach major flood stage, and that would be on Friday, early in the day. The Pajaro River is supposed to max out at the action stage, which is kind of below flood stage, but hey, keep an eye on the river. It's starting to get pretty high. That's expected late Friday into Saturday. The Salinas River is expected to get into minor flood stage in Bradley on late Friday into Saturday, and then perhaps later Saturday into Sunday down towards Spreckle. So it takes a little bit longer for Salinas River. The Carmel River is only expected to get into action phase. I'm still going to watch this one, though. It's still a lot of water that's going to be put into Santa Lucia's, and the Big Sur River expected to get to moderate flood stage on Friday. So again, these are some of the main forecast points. There are the rivers that have forecast points. That doesn't include a lot of the creeks and streams. Pacheco Creek, for example, north of Hollister, is likely going to cause flooding around the Lover's Lane area. You've been dealing with that all winter again, and this is not going to be any different. We'll have to watch Uvis Creek and places like that as well. So these are just some of the major waterways, but we're showing you that there's a lot of water that's going to be coming out of the sky and into these river systems, and that's going to cause some issues. Let's talk about the timing of everything now. So clouds increasing overnight, light rain maybe tomorrow morning, but nothing too crazy. It'll be after lunchtime we start to see more moderate rain developing in our coastal mountains. So it's just kind of a slow uptick in rainfall as we head through the day tomorrow, and then it will get stronger as we head into the evening hours. But do expect heavy rain to begin anywhere mid-afternoon for the coastal mountains, and in some of the lower elevation areas, you'll probably just still be seeing light rain, especially some of our inland valleys in the south. You'll be rain shadowed. You won't see much tomorrow. Even places like Salinas may not see much for most of the day tomorrow because of rain shadowing. You might be thinking, well, where's this storm coming from? But you have to understand that, you know, I'm responsible for all of this area here, and a lot of this area is going to see major impacts where some of this area may not see as much. So I am trying to mention too, in places like Salinas, the Salinas Valley, maybe Hollister, you're not going to see as much rain with this storm. Flooding threat will still be there, but not as high as places like Santa Cruz, Watsonville, the mountains, etc. So this is 6 p.m. on Thursday. Heavy rain ongoing in our coastal mountains. As we head into the late evening hours, it's still going on and off in the lower elevations and in the valleys. We'll see periods of rain, but it's the mountains that just keep getting pounded. It just keeps raining. 3 a.m. on Friday, it's still raining. 6 a.m. on Friday, it's still raining. Noon on Friday, still raining. So it's just going to keep going, and that's the problem. Finally starting to taper off as we head into the latter portion of the day on Friday. As for the wind, I should have mentioned it as we went hour by hour here, but the winds will also slowly increase throughout the day tomorrow, and they'll be strong and perhaps causing some damage late tomorrow night into Friday morning. That's about the time frame. So late tomorrow night, Friday morning is when we'll see some of the strongest winds. They'll be out of the south, and they will impact mostly our exposed coastal areas and ridges, but they'll funnel in the valleys as well. I think the biggest issues will be places like Carmel Highlands, Pebble Beach, western Santa Cruz County up in the mountains, the ridge tops, places like that. So we are going to see some wind. We've seen stronger winds certainly this winter, but this is going to be enough certainly to cause some power outages across the peninsula and in the Santa Cruz Mountains, I think, are the hot spots for the wind. And you can expect that late tomorrow night again into Friday. The rest of the weekend, we may see some additional precipitation. And this is just one computer model showing, you know, we talked about 4 to 8 inches in the Santa Cruz Mountains potentially, 5 to 10 in the Santa Lucia range, and then around the bay. Most cities getting a couple of inches, perhaps a little bit less in that Monterey to Salinas corridor right there. So again, lots to watch out for. We're going to keep you aware of everything. We'll quickly go through your temperature forecast tomorrow. I'm running out of time here. We're mostly going to stay in the low 50s across the region. So not really warming up yet tomorrow. The southerly winds will eventually scour out our cool atmosphere, and we'll start to warm up as we head into Friday. In fact, Friday's highs will be in the 60s, even though it's still going to be raining. And temperatures late tomorrow night are just going to keep warming up into Friday morning. It'll be kind of an odd thing, but that's just how these warm atmospheric river events work. Looking at that 7-day forecast, so tomorrow and Friday, stormy. We'll get some sunshine Saturday and Sunday with some lingering showers, not as bad, and then the next system Monday into Tuesday. Notice how much warmer it is, though, after Friday, I should say. And inland area, similar story. Lots to watch out for. Make sure you're staying tuned to the forecast. Maxwell.
Thank you, Dan.